Welcome to the What If podcast with your hosts, Spencer Davis and Ryan
It's
Cockeroo.
the sweary boys and we screaming sweet Jesus, trying to win $1 million like it's Regis, talking about aliens eating Reese's Pieces. Now we out here wondering, where's my pizzas? It's the What If podcast.
Is that feets is like feet plural, or where my feet is? Or where my feet is?
You know, it's tight.
So many options.
See, I envisioned it as plural feetses, like a funny way to say feet.
Yep.
But where my feet is definitely a great way to say, where are my feet?
Oh, dang.
Hey! Where?
You guys are going to hear that one about 3,000 times for the rest of the show.
It's Spencer's new favorite, which means here we are.
Oh, dang.
It applies to everything.
Where is my feetses? Where my feet is?
Dang.
I don't know.
I don't.
It sucks though. You lost your feet. Dang, dude.
Oh no.
So this is one that I think has been posted in our Facebook group or tweeted at us or emailed to us about 3,000 times.
True
So
enough.
I figured we should address it.
It's
back in the news this week.
It is back in the news this week. I think going, I would say a ways back, maybe to late 2017 in the paid episodes. I think we talked about a case that happened in 2017, actually. Maybe it was even earlier in the paid episodes. Like,
As soon as we do these, I pretty much forget everything that we talked about.
That's real. I just remember this coming up because I think it came up in the news, and thusly it came up in the paid episodes from at some point in 2017.
Obviously, I thought it was interesting this time, so I probably did before.
Well, and I think it's gotten more interesting the more that I would say a pattern has emerged in this strange story.
Yeah, so quick version of this story. Since 2007, there have been, depending on who you ask, 14 to 19 feet, like human feet, the things that you walk around on, that have washed up.
Did you just explain to our listeners what feet are?
Yes. Yes, I did. Hey, look.
Hey,
We're not that smart.
so we got it.
I figure some of you guys listening probably
in
aren't that
case.
smart. I've been a dumb guy listening to a podcast and gotten lost before, so I'm just trying to
All
make
the
sure
time.
everyone can keep up.
So what happened was there was feet. What's a feet? All right.
You're right. That probably wasn't where we would have lost people, but you never know.
Honestly, we've lost ourselves in shorter weeds.
So 14 to 19 feet have washed up on the shores of this part of North America. Like it's basically Puget Sound, but it's called the Salish Sea. So it's around. There's like this little inlet thing around Vancouver, Seattle, Northern Oregon area.
BC, British Columbia.
Yeah. And the feet are, well, the majority of them are inside of a shoe, usually a running shoe.
Uh-huh.
And it is a singular foot, most often, sometimes with part of the ankle or leg bone attached, sometimes just the foot inside the shoe.
Yes.
And there are some questions as to why and how this is happening.
Explain it to me.
Yeah, it seems like it's maybe too often for feet just to be washing up on shore, and they've rarely been able to link the foot to an actual person, with a few exceptions.
Yeah, I was going to say they have, but not.
The first one was in 2007, and the most recent one was this past week. So
Are we gonna go through some of the
2018 if you're listening to this in the future?
Hello, future people. Tell us what it's like to have a jetpack.
Holy shit! Hey!
So the first one, Jedediah Island in British Columbia, Canada.
Jedediah Springfield?
No.
Oh.
But yes, but no.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, dang.
Was when the first one, god damn it, came to life. Oh, no.
Pardon?
That was not the right word phrasing.
See, I think we might need to revisit what feet are. Feet, when detached from the body, are generally not considered alive.
Well, I guess we should probably just throw a quick disclaimer in. we are definitely going to make jokes in this episode about feet that have detached from human beings who
have
were
passed.
once alive.
They are now perished,
We are not
deceased,
We are not mocking
out of here.
their out of here-ness. We're not mocking the way that they went, or none of that.
We usually don't know.
Yes,
It was probably unfortunate, though.
it was probably unfortunate, but we are going to make jokes about this subject because we try to bring lightness to darkness. That's kind of what we do here. So if you're new to us, just a quick heads up, we're going to make some foot jokes.
What
about-
Ryan's trying to say is, we don't care about your emails. If you're offended, hit stop. Just don't listen to it.
If this sucks for you, go
Lots
try,
of other
try
things
next week.
out there.
We'll
Yeah.
be back next week with something that will be less offensive to you.
Probably aliens. Somebody pointed out last week in the Facebook group
That you could change the name of our podcast to What If Aliens?
for like 90% of the episodes you could say "What if aliens?"
That's because they're Spencer.
And I banned that dude because he's onto us. He's giving away trade secrets in the Facebook group.
Don't worry, person.
Just kidding. We don't ban anybody.
Don't worry, person. You're not banned. Yeah, Facebook group's been popping lately. What If Podcast
Thanks,
Facebook
friends.
group, y'all come join it. We talk about aliens and feet.
So that's the basic premise is way too many feet are showing up on the shores of the Salish Sea, Puget Sound area. And people have been trying to figure out how and why that's happening. And if it's the theories range from a serial killer is chopping people's feet off to people are jumping off of bridges into the ocean and then their shoes are floating to sharks are eating people to aliens are abducting people and dropping them in the ocean.
There it is. See, What If Aliens? There it is.
Just saying, that's a real thing that the coroner said in one of these.
No, he didn't.
Well, he said that it wasn't that.
Oh,
He specifically said it was not aliens.
Oh, good.
But he said the word aliens.
Well.
I'm just saying.
So they're here.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So are we running through some cases here? What are we doing?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, no, I don't know. I didn't know where you wanted to go first.
Oh, I mean, they're all some variation of that. If you want to get
Yeah.
into some specific ones, we can do that.
Well, I mean, we definitely don't have to. I didn't know where you wanted to go next, so I didn't want to go through specific cases unless you had.
Yeah, hit me with it.
All right. Well,
we can start developing some patterns here.
Yeah. I think patterns are important. So I'll just run through a handful quick. So the first one was on August 20th of 2007. Again, Jedediah Island. The Salish Sea, which includes Puget Sound, to Spencer's point, is sort of a, I guess you'd call it, well, a tributary would be if it was river related. It's like a series of waterways along the coast, which includes a broader body of water, which is Puget Sound. Additionally, the Salish Sea in British Columbia.
And then you get the Pacific Ocean out there somewhere.
Yeah, and so around that area, the Salish Sea itself has a bunch of small islands and a bunch of wilderness. It's a super popular hiking area. There's a bunch of outdoor activities that people engage in that area as well. Camping, fishing, hiking, hunting, all that good business.
For those of you that are as bad as with geography as I am, it's basically directly between Vancouver and Seattle. So it's also ringed by a lot of highly populated areas. You've got Seattle, you've got Vancouver, you've got Tacoma, Olympia a little further down there. So there are millions of people who live within a pretty close vicinity to this body of water.
Definitely. And we'll get into some missing persons statistics that I pulled later that will also, I think, put some of that into perspective as well. But so the very first one is August 20th, 2007. And a girl who was with her family going hiking in the area. They were from the U.S. They had popped over the border from Washington. Is going hiking with her family and finds just a men's size 12 shoe. And inside of it was the foot of the owner.
Gross.
The final owner of that shoe.
Was it a used pair of shoes?
I
That's
don't
some
know.
advanced forensics if they determine that.
Well, I can definitely tell you it was the final owner.
Well,
I need no forensics to tell me that it was the final owner.
There was one guy who found a foot in a shoe and then took it home with him.
That's fucked up, man.
Yeah.
That's not what you do with that when you find that.
He gave it to the cops later, but he took it home first.
Okay, but he needed to not.
I would agree.
There was a step in between there that he fucked up, which was taking it home. Find foot, give to cops. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. There's nothing in between.
I don't think I want any part of a dead person in my house before the cops know about it or after, but especially before.
Gracias. Hey, man, where'd you get that foot?
The basement.
Well, what had happened was, you're arrested. We don't believe you. No.
He said he didn't want to attract bears to the beach.
So he carried it with him? A bloody dead body part?
Yeah.
That's way worse.
Took one for the team and attracted bears to his house.
He just Forrest Gumped his ass straight out of the fucking woods with a fucking bloody body part hanging
He had
on
an
to
extra
him.
foot. He could probably run faster.
No, Jason! He had an extra foot. He could run faster. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Get in my belly!
Oh.
Come on!
Wrong button. Don't worry about it.
Actually, I don't know. That was the bear yelling, so I think that's about
fair,
right.
Fair. I gotta get that one out.
I
It was
learned a
not
new-
even funny the first time. And it's still on there.
I learned a new word as we researched this whole phenomenon.
Yes.
Phenomenal phenomenon. It's phenomenal.
I disagree, but what's the word you learned?
Well, disarticulated.
Does that just mean detached?
I mean, kind of, but it's generally specifically related to at the joint of a body.
Generally, specifically?
When it's used, generally when it's used, it specifically refers.
It commonly
To that.
refers to a joint coming apart. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Got it. Words are hard.
Where bones touch other bones.
Those are joints, yeah.
Correct.
Usually there's like some squishy stuff in between, but the crabs eat it.
Gross. Under the sea.
Did you watch the video of the guy
Under the sea.
who to see how quickly bodies would decompose underwater?
Bruh.
Because you can't throw human bodies into an ocean and just see what happens. That's super illegal. He did this with a couple of pigs, which seems like it should still be illegal, but pigs don't have proper representation, I guess.
Pigs don't have enough lawyers.
No, they gotta get like the horses, bro.
Gotta get like the horses. Was that from the paid episode then?
Yeah, whatever.
Oh, sorry.
Fuck 'em.
Slash thank
It's
you
an
to
inside
10 new
Patreon
people.
joke for you guys. This dude put 2 pigs in the ocean and they sent a camera down with him to see what happens. And a bunch of crabs ate them down to the bones within like 3 days.
No way. Is
Yeah.
that for real?
Mm-hmm.
Gross.
I mean, other things too, like various crustaceans and fishes and such.
I definitely, speaking of things I learned during researching this somewhat grotesque topic of
Quite, I would say, yeah.
decomposition, etc. I didn't know that. I feel like in all of Hollywood, bodies float. Like,
Okay.
we're taught that like a dead body floats.
I have lots
then
of
I heard-
questions about things that float or don't float, and I was tempted to try it out today. Not with bodies. Sorry. Clarification needed.
Well, that was the last episode of the podcast, guys. We've been arrested. Thanks so much for all of you listening to us.
No, not people. I know that.
So I was gonna go kill a guy on a Tuesday, throw him in the river, see what
No,
happens.
I could have just laid down in a river if I wanted to test if people floated. I mean, one of the theories, or the main theory about how and why this is happening, is that shoes protect the foot from being eaten by scavengers,
Yes.
and the shoe floats because it's made of foam or has pockets of air in it or whatever.
Yeah, we'll get to this as we go through some of these examples, but for the most part, it seems like all of them are in a running shoe of some kind.
False, though.
But there was a hiking boot in the
The most recent
one.
one was a hiking boot, and there were several others that were hiking boots. There was one that showed up inside a plastic bag,
Nuh-uh.
not in a shoe. Yep.
I did not see that
Yep.
one.
And there have been a couple that have not been in a shoe. So, but my question was, do all running shoes float? Especially if they have a foot in them?
I mean,
Especially when that foot is devoid of anything but bones? Like, do bones float?
is it devoid of anything but bones? Depending on how long that body's been
I guess, yeah.
dead
Depends
for,
on-
I guess we don't totally know.
I feel like even if I just soaked a shoe, there's a good chance it would sink. And then if I put anything else in it, I would think it'd be more likely to sink. And then why didn't this ever happen before 2007? Some guy was trying to say that running shoe technology changed significantly since 2007. I was like, bro, the Air Max 90 from 1990 was basically a big pocket of air. That motherfucker should have floated if any running shoe was going to.
True. I mean, it was,
They're lying to us,
literally had it injected. I mean, I don't know, like a piece of rubber floats, right?
I don't fucking know.
I mean, I think.
That's why I wanted to start filling up my sink and throwing shit in it today, but I ran out of time here.
See, we should. All right, guys, we'll be right back. We're going to go drown.
We're going to do some preschool-ass experiments in the kitchen.
You guys, you'll never believe it.
You ever watch Letterman back in the day?
I mean, I saw him like fall in a dunk tank and shit.
They used to have a segment that was just called Will It Float? And he would hype it up like it was this huge like game show type thing. And then they just had a tank of water and they'd put something in it and see if it floated.
Well, somebody call up Dave.
We got to bring him back.
I think he's bored. He's retired
Dave,
now.
can I need you to cut your foot off? See if it floats.
Let's throw it in a tank,
Wait
bro.
a few days, see if it still floats.
And then you got to cut your beard off next. Try that. See if your beard floats by itself.
Okay, so we don't need to go through the individual cases because they're all right. Some variation of the same thing.
Okay.
A foot in a running shoe washes up on a shore somewhere.
Yes.
In this general area.
I do think the patterns that I find interesting are, it seems like for the most part, they've been able to identify that it's a men's foot. So between either the shoe or the size of the bone, most of them are men. Not all of them, but most of them.
Also, men are way more likely to take stupid risks that would end up with you being at the bottom of an ocean.
Sick burn.
I think that's fact, is it not?
I mean, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
All right. I believe
I'm
you.
also pretty sure that suicide rates are higher amongst men.
That is true. If we're entertaining that. Well, I
think that's got to be part of the equation.
We'll have to eventually. But I think the other part of the pattern that's pretty interesting is of the, hang on, I got to do my math really quick.
So I'm just going to run through these. The first three are men's shoes.
Yep.
Woman, man, woman. 8.5 doesn't say. Man, woman or child. Ooh. Without a shoe or sock. What the fuck? Boys size 6. Men size 9, but it could have been a woman with big feet. Man. Human leg bone and foot in black plastic bag under a bridge. Yikes. Unknown. So like 2/3 of them are men.
2/3 of them are men. 10 of the first 12 that were discovered were all right feet.
That's weird.
10 of the first 12 were right feet. So, and also just to paint a picture, August of 2007, August of 2007, February of 2008, May of 2008, June of 2008, August of 2008, November of 2008. That summer must have fucking freaked out a lot of people. October of 2009, August of 2010, December of 2010, August of 2011, November of 2011.
Are you reading all of these?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it's interesting to know like how
no one's
far,
gonna be able to keep track of that listening to the podcast. It's been like a couple every year. And then
January
2008
12,
was wild.
May of 14. There was 2 in 2016, both in February, 5 days apart. I think that's interesting to know specifically that like the first 2 that were found were 6 days apart. February 7th and February 12th were 5 days apart for 2 separate feet.
I would think you would see some like seasonal patterns, but it doesn't really appear that way.
It doesn't appear that there's seasonal patterns, but there are a couple that are sort of awkwardly close to each other. Like,
are they the same person or?
No, not neither of the first 2 or the other 2 were not the 2 that happened a week apart in August, nor the 2 that happened a week apart in February were connected to each other. Oh no, I'm sorry.
Wait,
false.
Really?
The second pair was potentially related to the same person.
Okay.
But the first pair was not.
Huh.
Because the first 2 that were found on August 20th of 2007 and August 26th of 2007 were both right feet. That happened a week apart.
Okay. I mean, if a boat crashed or something, or I don't know,
an airplane crashed, or
yeah, you would think that would be documented pretty well, though. But I guess,
well,
the big question I have about this stuff is like, why specifically here? Because it does seem like this happens a lot more in this area than anywhere else in the world.
and why only feet?
Well, the
like-
shoes.
I mean,
No other part of your body is protected as well.
I agree and understand that conceptually, but like, it doesn't seem like they're like, yeah, and then we found the other shoe without a foot in it, or we found like clothing related to those people. And like, you know what I mean? It's like nothing. It seems like you would find at least some scattered evidence of these other
the ocean
people.
is real big.
It is, but okay, so say
We lose whole airplanes out there.
true, but okay, so say it's a
ships.
boat crash, right? Say a boat capsizes and 4 people drown.
Mm-hmm.
The things that fall out of the boat that float, I would imagine, are taken by similar wind currents and similar wave currents to some extent.
Yeah, probably.
So
Without really knowing how any of that stuff works, that makes sense to me.
yeah, and I guess what I'm saying is like the fact that just a foot washes up, and it's not like a foot and then 100 meters away a boat cushion, and then another 100 meters away a cooler or a koozie, or you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but okay, I guess I would think that the airplane, boat, whatever vehicle situations are probably not responsible for this, because that would be documented. Someone would go looking for those people. You would know the general vicinity that they were probably in. You would have a radio with you. There would,
yeah,
it would seem like if a boat sinks with people on it, we'd probably know about it. Someone would know about it.
well, I guess
I think most of this is probably people who either like fell or jumped into water.
I mean, potentially, I think there's definitely a case to be made for boats capsize. I mean, I would say regularly enough in the ocean and like probably around those areas. There's got to be enough accidents. Plus, you don't know how long some of these have been in the water, right? Like the very first one that was found. Actually, I found this super interesting. The very first foot that was found. The shoe itself was mainly distributed in India and was sold primarily in 2003, but the foot was found in that shoe in 2007. Now, of course, yes, someone could wear those shoes for a long time, but in India, like, I don't know.
Plenty of shoes that are 4 years old.
Yeah,
you can also
no doubt.
buy some shoes for quite a while after they were originally made.
Also true, but I also think the fact that it was primarily distributed in India is definitely interesting.
How so?
Because, well, one of the theories that I've read on top of some of the additional ones is the India tsunami of 2004 killed and took out to sea like 250,000 people. And is it a possibility that over time could basically human life from India have made its way across the ocean and washed up in that area?
I don't know.
Did it take 3 years for it to
And
go
only
across?
only one part of one person did, though? That seems unlikely. If there was a current that would take something that way and there were hundreds of thousands of people, you said?
Well, sure, but I mean, is there some light chance that,
It would seem
again, the currents are right?
that seems unlikely to me. I mean, it seems more likely that somebody bought a pair of shoes from or made in India.
Yeah, or we're traveling there from
Yeah.
India, or I mean, I definitely think that's possible, but I'm just trying to entertain all of the remote possibilities of how some of this happens and how it happens randomly, but also happens in geographically a super specific location. I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is to your point about like this being centralized to are people falling or intentionally falling. Like, I've never read anywhere that this has happened before. No other body of water, no other.
I found a few.
Of individual feet
Yeah.
or shoes washing up.
Yeah.
Okay.
There
'Cause
were.
I couldn't.
Let me see if I've saved a few links. There. One in. Excuse me. There's one in the UK that I found. A beach in Dorset. Somebody found foot washed ashore. This article says it was maybe, or they were investigating whether it belonged to a 14-year-old boy who had disappeared in the area. I couldn't find if there was ever confirmation of that.
Okay.
There was one in Florida, I think more recently,
Okay.
January of 2014, which was found in a boot, though. Peck Lake Beach near the north end of Jupiter Island in southern Florida.
I mean, your winter boot is not going to float.
Right, there's a photo of it. I'm
Or a
assuming
hiking
it's the
boot.
actual boot. It's like a leather thick work boot.
There's no way.
I
threw
haven't
one of my-
tried because I want to keep wearing them, but it's,
If I threw my Timbs in the lake, there's no way that thing is floating to the surface.
it seems pretty unlikely to me because that's also assuming that, so if it's been detached from the rest of the person, we're assuming that happened underwater. Because I'm just going by like what the official explanation has been on this stuff is that someone somehow falls into the water, dies, sinks. They're consumed by animal scavengers of
Right.
some kind. Natural decomposition happens.
Disarticulation
And
is
disarticulation happens.
the separating at the
Right.
joint without it being sawed or
So
whatever.
then at that point, this is happening underwater, presumably at the bottom of whatever body of water we're talking about.
Yeah.
Then at that point, that boot with a foot in it is buoyant enough to float back up to the top. That seems unlikely to me.
It seems super unlikely to me.
But I don't know how else it would happen. Because obviously it was floating at one point because it got to the shore. That part I can't really get my head around.
I can't either.
And then the other confusing part is, was this just not documented prior to 2007? Or it was, and it was rare enough that no one really paid attention to it? Because I think I've been trying to figure out like why that location. And I think
too.
the geographic stuff could be part of it. Like it's sort of ringed by land. And so stuff that on other parts of the world might go out further to sea is going to be pushed back in and kept closer to shore.
Sure.
I don't know anything about ocean currents or wind patterns, so maybe that has something to do with it.
I'm not a smart man.
There's a high population, like multiple population centers around there, so there might just be more people in that area. But I was also thinking once it's publicized and you hear about a few of them, they're more likely to be noticed in the first place, whereas if you were walking along the beach and saw a shoe normally, you might not go see what's inside of it.
Probably, but if you're a hiker in the area and you've heard in the news that there are feet being found in shoes, you might be like, that's a
More
shoe.
likely to
I
investigate.
wonder if there's a foot in it.
And then,
Ugh, gross.
well,
Barfy barf.
and then it's more likely to then be reported because it fits this quote unquote pattern. Whereas maybe that's happening more commonly elsewhere.
What
but
do they
it
call that?
hasn't.
Like confirmation bias or whatever? Like you
Confirmation bias is when you like believe something to be true and look for evidence that supports your existing opinion.
Right. As in, I believe that there is a pattern of people's feet washing up here, and because I see shoes, I go look to them and put them into the
Some variation
there's
of that.
something creating this thing. I wanted to really quickly do some missing person statistics because I think it's interesting color to the conversation.
Go for it.
In British Columbia, so the population, I've just pulled 1 year. This is from 2016. The population of British Columbia in its entirety in 2016 was 4,773,345 people.
Wait. What is that the population of?
British Columbia.
All of British Columbia.
Yes, the whole province. including Vancouver.
Okay. I would guess a large chunk of that is in Vancouver.
Yeah, I would too. The categories for people who went missing are abduction by stranger, accident, wandered off, parental abduction with custody order, parental abduction without custody order, abduction by relative, runaways, human trafficking, unknown, and presumed dead.
Okay.
So
how many are in the Bigfoot category?
Would that be unknown?
The David Paulides category?
Would that be abducted by relative?
Distant relative.
Very distant relative.
Greater Vancouver area is 2.4 million.
Okay. So almost exactly half of
all of British Columbia is around Vancouver, yeah.
In 2016, accounting for all of those categories, 10,784 people went missing in BC.
Oh, dang.
2016. But out of that number, only 23 people were presumed dead.
What is the criteria for being presumed dead, though?
I'm not entirely sure, but I would imagine it has something to do with like evidence of them was found elsewhere. Well, that would probably do it. I guess I meant more like if you disappeared and you wandered off, but you were found again, then you would not be presumed dead because you were found again.
Didn't you say there was also like an unknown category or something, though?
There is a very, very big unknown category.
So,
but I don't know what the unknown category is if it accounts for like they don't know why they went missing.
But that's what I'm saying. What would be the distinction between general unknown and then presumed dead? How do you?
I don't know. I'm on canadasmissing.ca, which appears to be a government.
You're on canammissing.com?
No, Canada's missing. How dare you give?
I shouldn't even give him a shout out.
Yeah,
anymore.
I was gonna say.
Sorry,
we're gonna bleep that in post.
My bad.
But here it is. Oh, from a true Canadian too. That's perfect. But no, I mean this is a government website. The unknown category is, I will say, sizable. The unknown causes for missing people in British Columbia accounts for 7,500 people out of the 10,000.
Yeah. Okay. So this ties into something I want to bring up. Is I think we're also maybe trying to force patterns where there aren't on some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about a span of 11 years and 14 to 16 to 19, depending on how you categorize them, incidents. So we're at like 1.5 a year, 1.5 to 2, depending on how you do the math.
But we're in a, like, within what? I don't know what the actual mileage is.
It's a pretty big area with like 2 major cities and several other cities. I mean, there are probably 10 million plus people that live around the Salish Sea.
Well, yeah, sure, but
and we're talking about like 1 or 2 a year where this happens. Like,
yeah, but why is this not happening in Manhattan? There's a shitload of people in New York City.
Because
there's a shitload of people that go running.
Well, first of all, do we know it's not?
Would we not be hearing about this in the news more frequently?
I don't know. If it happened once or twice a year in all the other crazy shit that happens in New York, I don't know.
Are washing up in New York City. I mean, I feel like, yes, absolutely. If random feet with fucking shoes,
you know how many people
them?
probably die a year in New York?
That's dude. I actually wrote
I'm just
this.
saying, like, so we don't necessarily know that it's not. First of all, and secondly, that might be the geographical component where to the east of New York is nothing for a really long time.
Yeah,
and we don't know how currents and wind patterns and stuff, jet streams or whatever the fuck controls that.
But you could say the same thing going west from the Salish Sea.
No, I'm saying it's enclosed in a way that other population centers near water aren't.
What is? New York is?
No, Puget Sound, Salish Sea area. Pull it up on a map. Look at it.
I've seen it on the map. I've been been researching the same story. I get what you're saying, but like there are lots of coves in the world. There are lots of like inlets in the world. There are lots of.
I don't know how many there are that look like that and that have multiple major cities on their shores.
I mean, I guess that's true.
And then we're talking about at the end of the day, 1 or 2 a year. I'm just saying, it seems possible to me that this is like more common than we're being led to think by the amount of reporting that's happening on it, because it's been established as this weird story.
But by this point, though, don't you think that if this was a thing that happened anywhere else, that we would have had similar news attention focused on it? Like that people would go, missing body parts, washed up body parts.
No, I don't think so necessarily, because that has to happen all the time.
Which part? Washed up body parts?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Why? Then why? So that's my question. Then why is this such a story then? You think we're just like freaking out about nothing and that body parts are washing up all over the goddamn place?
Like, honestly, yes, I think that is the most likely explanation.
That's garbage.
What?
Dude, that's a garbage take. First of all, I think that you're the writer of one of the blogs that I stumbled across while I was Googling things for this episode, which, by the way, if our search histories ever show up in a court case, we're just automatically
I opened YouTube while logged in front of a stranger the other day.
And you were like, Jesus Christ.
And it was a goddamn disaster in there. I'm sure there were like, their brain was just flooded with judgments faster than they could even think of them.
/ they picked all their shit up and walked away. They were like, fucking get me out of here.
Half of it is like me looking for sounders for the show. Half of it is watching the stupidest shit imaginable, like Secure Team 10, Bigfoot, Missing 411 bullshit. And then mixed in, you have like some basketball highlights. And I just look like a trash human if you look at my YouTube history.
Yep, that's about right. That's us. But I think, so speaking of us finding horrible things on the internet, I think you wrote the blog I found, which is just called Murder is Everywhere.
I'm just saying.
It's a real blog I found. It's called Murder is Everywhere.
I think we don't want to think about how often people do horrible things to themselves and others.
I feel like there's a lot of people that are paid to think about that like all the time.
Hey, Ryan.
Tell me.
I didn't hear the last thing you said because I was reading a sentence from this article on Vox.com that says, quote, suicides and drownings are somewhat regular events around any body of water, and as shoreline populations go up, the number of water mishaps also increases.
Well, yeah.
In fact, New York City regularly goes through the grim ritual of fishing floating corpses out of the water in the spring as temperatures rise.
Gross.
Suck my dick.
But that's a corpse. That's what I'm saying. That's a corpse. They're finding bodies.
Well, we've killed all the crabs by New York City by dumping trash into the ocean for the last 200 years.
Or because we just fucking eat them.
Well, that too. We've overfished that coast. There are no more crabs left to eat our legs.
Okay.
So before we eat theirs.
God damn.
Oh, dang.
So there's no crabs. There's just there's a void of sea life. So corpses remain because they're not actually turning into individual body parts.
You said that there aren't just body parts washing up all over the place.
And a corpse is different than a body part. That's what I'm saying. If there were corpses washing up on the shores of the Salish Sea, I would have a completely different thought about this.
Would you like to read the CNN article about how multiple body parts washed up on the beach at Rio during the Olympics, including a foot?
Yes.
Okay, I'll send it to you. A beachgoer Wednesday discovered human body parts that had washed up on the shore right in front of Olympic Beach volleyball arena on Rio's famed Copacabana Beach. A dismembered foot and another body part still unidentified were found.
Do you think it was Tanya Harding?
Pardon?
Tanya Harding.
I don't get it.
Remember when she tried to beat up Nancy Kerrigan in the Olympics?
Yeah.
Maybe it was Tanya Harding being like, I didn't get her. I'm coming back for more. She's killing people instead this time.
I don't understand this premise at all. She waited 20 some years and then went to the Summer Olympics and then cuts.
Murder is everywhere. She hated it.
Body parts of tourists also washed up on a beach in Fiji in 2016.
Oh, bummer. What kind of body parts?
I'm looking. Let's see.
Don't look too hard.
Oh, Jesus.
Did you find something you didn't want to find?
I found a sentence I didn't want to read. In the latest in a series of grisly discoveries,
Like on a yards.
a vacationing New Zealand couple stumbled across a human head on the beach.
Bruv. Okay.
Other body parts have been previously found bundled in cloth, beginning with 2 pairs of human feet.
Oof.
4 feet
That's a bad thing.
in Fiji.
Yes.
It happens elsewhere, bro.
But 4
We're
feet.
just not talking about it.
4 feet in a bag together, completely different than
No,
singular.
because in that 16 that we're counting was a foot in a fucking bag under a bridge.
Right.
We're lumping all the shit together David Paulides style and saying there's a fucking pattern.
But so first of all, if heads can wash up on shore, why are they only finding feet in the Salish Seas?
Well, somebody probably cut somebody's head off.
In Fiji?
Yeah.
And just left it on the beach or something?
Probably.
No.
Some Lord of the Flies shit going on.
Oof. I mean, I guess there's that. But again, like if people are finding body parts, that's one thing. But why are people only finding shoes?
Because they got fucking shoes on their feet.
What
If you wore like weird foam rubber gloves, we'd probably find your hands too.
What if Bigfoot?
If you wore a cool helmet, we'd probably find your head.
What if Bigfoot is actually?
Sorry. You started saying "what if Bigfoot" and I spoke over you, which is like the most egregious error you can make on this show.
That's sacrilegious. That's a crime. That's assault, brother.
I apologize.
What if Bigfoot is an omnivore and has a taste for human flesh, but with like not dexterous and clumsy hands, is unable to untie shoes and thusly disarticulates feet from bodies with 2 very strong ape-like hands, just going, ripping them off.
Don't make sound effects, please.
And can't untie the shoe, so he's like, fuck it, throws it in the water.
I mean, we are talking about Bigfoot country
the rest
here.
of the body. We are talking about Bigfoot country, which is, I'm not going to lie, something I thought about while I was researching this.
Well,
Eats
and if
the
Linda
body.
Moulton Howe knows anything,
Oh, boy.
this is the area she was talking about too.
Oh, boy.
Snohomish, right?
I don't remember.
I think that's what she said.
My brain slowly melted into a puddle of ooze while that was happening.
I actually fell asleep during Dave's talk for a minute.
Shots fired!
That's just a fact. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Well, we had also just eaten lunch, so maybe we were just old.
I was
old
also
people.
real high for like 72 hours straight, so that might have had something to do with it.
Contributing factors, multiple contributing factors.
I'm just saying it does happen in other locations. Perhaps not with the frequency.
I'm sorry. You
I don't know what to say to your Bigfoot
just
thing.
ran away from my Bigfoot theory.
Maybe the feet are the least appetizing part, so they need extra seasoning, so he's brining them.
Nah, dude, he just can't get to the meat.
That could be too.
It's like when you get
Does
served.
Bigfoot eat people now, though? I didn't know about that.
I mean, I don't know
I thought
that.
he was like our ancient forest friend.
But maybe he's an omnivore. We're omnivores.
Okay. Why would you eat humans, though? It seemed like they're much easier animals to catch than one that's approximately your size and smarter than you.
Because they're looking for him. It's all people who
And
are
that's why he
looking
left
for him.
the head on the beach as like
In
as a
Fiji?
warning. Yeah.
Is this
It's international
wait.
Bigfoot.
Is this international suntanning Bigfoot?
No, I'm saying it's a warning. He eats the people and then leaves a Lord of the Flies ass warning to the other people to not fuck with him.
I just envisioned Bigfoot in like a sun chair on the beach with
He's so hairy.
with
What's he tanning?
Yeah, with like a flowered swimsuit on, and he's drinking like a cocktail, but it's just out of a human head.
Jesus, bud.
Oh, dang.
Let's not make everyone imagine that, please.
I'm putting it on a shirt.
That's the worst. That's the worst thing.
Oh, can somebody draw me that, please?
The one other thing I found why maybe this area. So I looked up. I got into some. This is like as dark as I'm comfortable getting on this show.
Did get a little dark.
Because I was looking up suicide rates by state today.
Oh, bummer, dude.
Yeah, I know.
I was just talking about Bigfoot drinking cocktails
Well,
out of heads.
I wanted to like address the one or two more things about this actual concept before we just totally derailed.
Yeah.
Oregon ranks 9th in the country, in the country, and Washington is 22nd in terms of suicides
rates?
per 100,000.
What about, did you look up BC in terms of Canada for suicide rates?
No, because I would assume it's just most common where the people actually live. There's a lot of Canada where there aren't that many people.
Well, right, but Vancouver being as close as it is would be an interesting
I didn't look that up.
addition.
Also, I did find at least one guy saying that there are unusual wind patterns in this area that blow inland like pretty consistently, so it might push things back to shore that would otherwise be carried out.
Yep.
And there's a shitload of bridges because there are so many islands and bodies of water between populated areas.
Sure. Plus, you're talking about camping, hiking, etc., near bodies of water as well. So you're doing semi,
If people were looking to off themselves, that might be a more common method than in other locations.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing that I don't get, the coroner report, like the coroner that apparently has been taking most of these, said something to the effect of, this line's from a Guardian article that I found. It says, in the past dozen cases, the provincial coroner's office has ruled out foul play. All of the individuals either killed themselves or died accidentally, with their feet naturally coming apart from their bodies during composition.
Okay.
How?
Well, I have two questions. How do we know that when not all of these people have even been identified?
Exactly.
But the second part, you could probably tell that the foot wasn't forcibly removed, I would guess.
Yeah, but that doesn't tell you that their head wasn't cut off before somebody threw their body off.
No,
the
it doesn't.
ridge.
It doesn't say that person wasn't killed prior, but it would rule out some weird like serial killer who's cutting people's feet off.
Yeah, I don't think that is what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
Like, because that
That
was
is
one
something
of the
that has been
primary
proposed,
theories.
so,
Yes,
yeah.
that it was a serial killer's like token fucking move.
I think you would be able to see on the bones if somebody's foot had been sawed off.
100%. And that I think is actually the disarticulation trend is the main one, which is that there is not saw marks or breakage or whatever that
Right.
these appear to be being found with natural separation at the joint.
But I think only like half of these people have even been identified.
I think
So I don't
less than
know
half.
how you would determine that there was no foul play involved in any of them. That
Right.
seems like you're just saying that because it's nicer to think about.
Yeah, right.
Like there's no way you have that information.
You can't tell me that just because you found a tire of a car on the side of the road, like you don't know how that tire got there. You don't know if that car got into a car crash or...
Well, it's just, if you know that there wasn't foul play involved, you should be able to tell me how that person died.
Right.
If you don't know the cause of death, you don't know for sure that it was natural.
Right. Yeah, and that to me also is like partially what makes me... Skeptical is not the right word, but it seems like it's easier to say, we don't know. This one, we don't know. This one, we can track back to a guy. This one, we don't know.
Right. I'm trying to think of like what would be the incentive to not say that and to say instead like, oh no, there's no foul play when obviously you don't totally know that.
Closing cases.
Yeah.
Because I bet you it's still an open case until the coroner gives some sort of...
But an open case of what?
Well, I would imagine a missing persons case file is closed once... Oh, but they don't have a body to tie it back to.
Who is missing? All you found is a decomposed foot that you can't identify or link to a person in a lot of these cases, or at least some of them.
True.
So, what do you gain by saying that?
I don't know.
Just general, like, public calm?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, are you just injecting a sense of certainty into people who hike and fish and camp and do all of the same things in that area to be like, yeah.
You're not going to get murdered.
Okay, so we get it.
Bigfoot's not going to brine your feet if you go out for a swim.
But you're good.
Probably. I mean, it seems like it to me.
Yeah, but
and
then...
if you don't have the resources or, like, ability to investigate this, like, if you just don't have the information, if all you have is a shoe and a foot, you can't really determine one way or another what happened. It's easier to just say nothing happened because otherwise you're saying, well, maybe something happened, but we'll never know. Like, that's not an answer.
It's not an answer, and it's also the answer that's going to make everybody go,
even though it's right.
Right. But it's also the answer that's going to make everyone go, excuse me? What do you mean you don't know what happened?
We don't like uncertainty, even though our world is full of it all the time.
Why are dead people's body parts washing up on the shore?
Right.
We don't know. What do you mean you don't know?
Well, yeah. Which is, like, obviously fine. Some random guy who goes to his job at the coroner's office doesn't know everything in the world.
No.
But we have a hard time accepting that.
Yes. It's probably fine.
Yeah, probably is. Also, it's like 16 people, 19 people, 14 people, whatever, over 11 years.
Well, yes.
There's so many, like...
Why just their feet, man?
You asked me that like 4 times.
Why not both feet?
Giving you this... I don't fucking know.
Like, why do we only...
Because the ocean's really big.
I know, but so far we've only found one pair. If two feetses fell off a rock, if 2 feetses jumped off a bridge...
attached to a person?
To a person.
Okay.
Why does the one feetses that's right next to the other feetses show up on the shore and the other one is never found again? If that one floats so well and is so easily washed up on the shore,
there was
an
an
area with many, many, many inlets, why is there not another foot? Why do we not find these pairs of feet all the time? Out of these 20 over the course of 10 years, we found 1 pair.
You know how many variables there are in that, though? Like, it could have been... It separated at a different time. It could have been consumed more than the other one. It could have been...
It could be washed
moved
up
by an animal. It could be washed up
on the
nearby
side of
and
an
someone
island
didn't
that
see
no
it.
one's found it. Yeah, I know, but also...
And when this shit is happening once a year, you're not going to see, like, exact patterns develop because it's a rare thing.
I know, but it's still weird sometimes. Like, I don't feel fully satisfied by it, is how I feel.
You always have trouble when we get into the, like, actual potentially life-threatening existential unknown things.
Well, no, yes, I do, but I don't think this necessarily falls into that category because I don't feel like there's something that's like existentially taking people out.
We never answer anything on this show.
Correct.
But sometimes you're you're less comfortable with that. And I feel like this is one of those times.
Not answering things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm necessarily less comfortable not answering things because we really, really don't answer most things.
Not a damn thing in a year and a half of doing this show.
We've asked a whole lot of questions, guys. We've
answered exactly 0 of them.
Literally 0 of them.
Oh, dang.
Oh, dang.
Did you ever think maybe this guy's bullshitting you?
Yes.
We're not bullshitting
weekly.
You. We're just
intermittently.
We're thinking with you. No, I guess this one doesn't necessarily freak me out as much as I just feel like there's not enough for me to go on to feel confident in any specific or individual.
Yeah, no one knows.
Right.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that not necessarily that freak me out more, but just make me go like, huh, well, that one's just going to be that one.
I think you have a harder time with like the real life situations rather than like, we don't know what the fuck happened with aliens either, but it's easier to say that like it's plausible that nothing happened and it's not a real thing.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like for sure somebody's dead.
This is definitely dead feet. Definitely dead feet.
Many feet, bro.
And Adidas's.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, we out of here. Thank y'all so much for listening. We did have a shitload of new people join the Patreon.
Holy shit! Hey!
Shout out to Brianna and Jessica and Kelly and MC Megascopes or Megascops. I don't know. I don't know who that person is, but I like where your head's at. And James and Spooky and a whole bunch of Aaron. We had a bunch of new people join. So if you want, we don't talk about it all the time, but we do a second episode of this every week over on patreon.com/whatifpodcast. If you want to get double the weird, and double the existential crises, you got to check
weirder and crisis-ier usually.
Tis. Hi at whatifpodcast.com if you want to send us an email. Also, 612-246-4614.
Oh, fuck.
Face your fears, son.
Did we check it?
I didn't. Do you want to check it really quick and we can see if we have anything crazy?
Okay, I think you changed the password because now when I try and log in, it doesn't remember me and I don't know what our password is.
You guys,
because I typed in what I thought it was and it didn't work.
You guys, oh shit!
We got some voicemails.
Oh wait, we've got a. Let's see.
You guys want to hear an unscreened voicemail?
Let's see how this goes. No, actually, we have a pending contact request.
Oh man,
which I just accepted.
That? We get somebody send us some weird shit.
They made Skype into a big bucket of garbage.
Oh,
and
tight.
I don't know entirely how to use it.
Okay, well, we'll come back to this.
Well, anyway, you can still call us 612-246-4614 and
we'll figure out how to use Skype and get to your voicemails.
And until then, we love you guys, and we'll see you next week.
We out of here!
We'll be back next week with another episode of the What If Podcast. Learn more at www.whatifpodcast.com.